Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about rate of change and slope. Rate of change and slope. This should be a complete, honestly for you guys, a complete review because we have talked about both quite a bit in the past. So here, given the following table, find the rate of change. So this is a review. So to find the rate of change, remember you are finding how your rate is changing over, in this case, time. So a rate is a comparison of two quantities, like miles per hour. So you're comparing two different quantities. So when you see that word per, that reminds us of rate. So here I'm finding out how the height is changing. At what rate is the height changing per time? So here I can see I'm going up 5, up 5, up 5 for every 1 second. So my rate is 5 for every 1, and since I know what it is we're talking about, 5 meters per 1 second. That's the rate. So what we're going to be doing today, again, is finding rates of change from tables, graphs, and 2 points. So before we continue, I want to just remind you of some vocabulary. Remember, the slope is just the same thing as the rate of change. So the rate of change is the slope. So I use these interchangeably. So remember, the rate shows relationship between the two changing quantities, like how the height is changing compared to the time. So we can talk about, or we can represent the rate of change or the slope in numerous ways. The rate of change, we can say it's the change in the dependent variable. In the last case, it was the height over the change in the independent variable. So it's that ratio, change of the dependent variable over the change of the independent variable. Or we can think about it as just like on a graph, the vertical change. So we can represent the rate of change as the vertical change, which is the y, over the horizontal change, which is the x. So to find the slope, you could find that vertical change over the horizontal change. You could figure out the change of the dependent over the independent like we did on the last table. Or you can think of it as rise over run, which is the same thing as rise, how much you're rising, horizontal run, how far you're running. And if you are given 2 points, you can find the slope by doing the first y minus the second. So what is the difference in the y's, and what is the over the difference of the x's? So that ratio of the change in y, so this little triangle means change, over the change in x. So with example 1, we are looking at graphs. So how is the graph changing? So for this case, I'm looking at the y change, or the vertical change, over the horizontal change. So if I zoom in, I can draw in my steps like we did last year. I can draw in those little right triangles. How is it changing? Well, it's going up, and you have to make sure you pay attention to the axes. It's going up 1, 2, 3, because I can count the boxes because it's numbered by ones. So it's going up 3 for every 1. If I went between these 2 points, bad line, I could say it's changing. It's going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for every 3. But regardless, these right triangles are proportional, and 3 over 1 is the same thing as 9 over 3. So my rate is 3. All right, next example. Again, I'm going to look at, there are no points highlighted, so I'm just going to highlight 2 points on my line. Doesn't matter which 2, as long as they're right on the grid. So I'm going to highlight the 2 points, and I'm going to find my change in y. How is y changing compared to x? So it is going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going up 5, but over none. It's going over 0. So now I think, okay, I know that 0 cannot be in the denominator. We cannot divide anything by 0. So that must mean that this vertical line has a slope that is undefined. So any vertical line, we could do it with any vertical line, it is always going to end up with 0 x change. So we say our slope is undefined. All right, this is where you have to take ownership of your learning and actually stop the video and try this on your own and then come back to see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. So here I highlighted my 2 points and I was looking for, I knew that the rate of change or the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So I found my change in y between my 2 points, 1, 2, 3. So I counted, sorry, that was my change in x. The change in y, it's not going up and down at all. There is no change in y. Y is always 4. There is no change. Now I'm going to do the change in x. It's 3. So my change in y, there was no change, and my change in x. 0 over 3, or 0 over any number, is 0. So I know now for any horizontal line, the x is going to for any horizontal line, the slope is going to be 0 because there is 0 y change over any number x change. This question, by the way, was on at least some of your Aspire tests. All right, next. Here I drew in my triangle, and if you had it like this, that would be fine too. So some people like going on the top. I went like this because I wanted to start at this point, and so I had to go down 6. So down means negative, so I went down 6 and over 9. So my change in y, negative 6, my change in x, 9, and then I simplified to negative 2/3. How'd you do? All right, so for this one we're going to use the slope formula. The slope formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, because to find that change in y, you're finding the difference between the y coordinates over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now I've been teaching this for many years, and the most common mistake I see is accidentally getting your y's and your x's confused or the order confused. So I suggest using arrows. So I'm going to not just connect them with a line or an arc, I'm going to draw an arrow. So I'm going to go this way for my y's. So now negative 1 minus, remember it's a difference, minus negative 3. Since I went this way with the y's, I have to go that way with the x's. Now I draw the y arc arrow on the top because it's going to go on the top, and I draw the x arrow on the bottom because that number sentence is going to go on the bottom. So 0 minus a negative 2. Now I'm going to remember my integer rules, keep, change, change, keep, change, change. So negative 1 plus 3 is 2, and 0 plus 2 is 2. So 2 over 2 is 1. All right, let's do the next one. So y change, so I'm going to start on my y at the second one, and I'm going to go to the first. So 4 minus 0. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. 4 minus 1, and then I'm going to simplify, so that turns out to be 4/3. All right, and the order that you're using your arrow doesn't matter as long as it is consistent. For example, this last one, I'll go the other way. 4 minus 9, and negative 2 minus a negative 2. So 4 minus 9, keep, change, change, keep, change, change. So now I have negative 5 over negative 2 plus 2. That cancels out to 0. That does not look right. Remember, you can't have a 0. So if there's a 0, the slope is undefined. You may not leave it with the 0 in the denominator. You have to say it's undefined or no slope, and I'm going to show you something with that in a little bit. So I could have done the same thing with this one, except the other way, and you end up with the same thing. So I just want to show you quick. I could have done 9 minus 4 and -2 minus -2, and ended up with that same 0 in the denominator. So as long as your arrows are going the same way, it doesn't matter which direction. All right, please try these on your own and then come back and check your answers. All right, how did you do? So here I went from the second to the first y and the second to the first x. So 1 minus a -2, keep change is 3. -5 minus 3, keep change is a -8. So my slope, again this m is there because m represents our slope in the y slope-intercept formula, so -3/8. Here I went the other way just to show you that it doesn't matter as long as those arrows are consistent. So 0 minus a -2 is 2, 7 minus a -6 is 7 plus 6, which is 13. So the slope of the line that would run between these 2 points would be 2/13. And the last one, -2 minus a -2, and -2 minus 2 ended up being 0 over -4. Anything over any number is 0, so I would not leave it like this. I would say that my slope is 0. All right, I'm a visual person, so here are just some ways that you can remember. I really like the slope guide. This is the first year that I have seen the slope guide, but I really like them. So your slope is going to be positive if the line is going up, but negative if it is going down. If it is a vertical line, it is undefined or no slope. If it is a horizontal line, it's 0. So it says the same thing, but it's just in this cute little Mr. Slope guy. So vertical lines, undefined, horizontal, 0. I really liked this visual as well. Never seen it until this year, and it's so simple. 0 slope, it's a horizontal line. No slope is a vertical line because of that no. I wish I would have had this years and years ago, because what a simple way to remember it. All right, do your assignment. Let me know if you need help. We out.